In the NFL divisional playoffs on Sunday, the Giants are a 4-point home favorite over the Philadelphia Eagles, with the total right now at 40, and there was some U-shaped line movement on that total. Actually opened at 40, went up to 41, and then went back down to 40. We'll talk about that in a second. But once again, we have SBR moderator Justin Seven and NFL expert with us to help us suss out the key factors for this game. Justin?
Hey, Peter.
Thanks once again for joining us. All right, now the first thing that I want to mention, which you can comment on or not, but I found pretty interesting, is that I've definitely been hearing that the lines makers and the bookmakers all think that the Giants are the right side in this game. LVSC, I noticed, recommended a number of about Giants -6, -5.5 to the casinos, and the number opened at about 5 or 5.5. Most books got bet down to 4, and I've been hearing that's because the Eagles are sort of the hot team right now. They've won a bunch of games in a row, sort of high-profile games in a row, and the Giants ended the season pretty weakly and in sort of a funk and a downward swing. You have anything to say about that?
I have two comments. First, I put a little bit less weight on the games for the Giants that were not too important. You know, when they had the conference wrapped up. The second thing, I'll disagree with LVSC. If the line opened up at 6 and now it's 4, that meant they were wrong. Despite what you see, Philadelphia shouldn't be a 6-point dog. I actually made them a 4-point dog.
Really? Okay, well, we'll get to that later. All right, now, obviously both teams were big money makers on the year. Philadelphia was 11-6 against the spread on the year, and the Giants were actually 12-4 against the spread, but most of their ATS losses came at the end of the year when, as you said, they were dealing with a bunch of injuries and reduced motivation after they locked up the playoff seed that they got. And now for this game, the big story with the Giants is that all of their injuries that they were suffering at the end of the year, a ton of big names, so many of their big names are all getting healthy now. Brandon Jacobs, star running back Brandon Jacobs, nose tackle Fred Robbins, who's a big run stopper, and a bunch of offensive linemen. Just the Giants were having a ton of really high-profile health issues at the end of the year, which contributed to their sort of mediocre ATS record at the end of the year, although they did impressively still pull out a win when they needed to against Carolina at the end of the year while still dealing with those injuries. How much of a boost, Justin, do you think that the Giants are going to get from having all this health back?
Well, I think you can look at it and say, well, how much did it hurt them when they were missing several players? Jacobs, I think, is the most significant of them. If you look at how the Giants did when he did not start, they were 1-2. They lost 2 games when he was not playing.
Okay, yeah. My sense is that the Giants are going to get a huge boost from getting all these guys back, but I'm not entirely certain that it justifies having them, be a 6-point favorite, as you said, or on the money line, giving them value on a bet for them to win 2/3 of the time. But we'll get to that in a second. How about the health of Brian Westbrook? He's sort of been dealing with injuries all year long. Played through them pretty well, but he's still been slowed a bit at the end of the year. Do you think? And he's pretty much the biggest offensive weapon that Philadelphia has. Do you think that his health for this game is much of a concern?
I don't think so. I mean, if he's playing, regardless of whether or not they say he's healthy, if a person is well enough to play while drugged up, then they're going to be at close to 100%.
Now I want to get to what I consider to be the key factor in this game and get your take on it. Now, in your analysis of the Eagles game last week against the Minnesota Vikings, you were spot on in what you said. You said that Philly had a great pass defense and that Tavares Jackson was overachieving, that he was going to be very vulnerable in this game, and that is indeed exactly what happened. Philly just dominated on defense, and they stuffed the box to stop the run against Minnesota, which they did somewhat well, not perfectly, but they definitely put the game in the hands of Tavares Jackson, and he made the mistakes, gave the game away, threw a key interception, didn't throw any touchdown passes, just like you predicted. So kudos for having such a great read on that game. It seems like Philadelphia is probably going to use the same strategy here against the Giants, that they're going to stuff the box, try to stop the run, Brandon Jacobs and Ward, the Giants' 2,000-yard rushers, and try to get Eli Manning to beat them. Eli Manning is not that mobile, and the Giants now with Plaxico Burress out don't really have a huge deep threat. So it seems to me that Philly is going to try to employ the same strategy. Do you think that they will? And if so, how successful and effective do you think it'll be?
They have to stop the run if they're going to win this game. The Giants have the best rushing attack in the NFL. They average 5 yards a carry. No other team does that. So if the rushing is working, and with the Giants rushing 5 yards a carry, you're doing two things. If you're forcing the defense to play a run defense, which opens up the passing lanes. The second thing it does, by having 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, these short yardage situations, it's again harder to defend, and that makes Eli Manning's job easier. Now Eli is not a great quarterback. He's not a bad quarterback, but he's not great. If you look at his passer rating and compare him to other quarterbacks with at least 8 starts, he's number 15 on the list and number 17 for passing yards, but that's okay because the Giants are not a passing attack team. They're a conservative, I'm just going to run it down your face and slowly grind you down team.
Okay, so what are you saying then, do you think is the key matchup going to be? You think that the key matchup is actually going to be Philly's rush D against the Giants' run game?
Yes, that'll be the key matchup. Philadelphia has the number 4 defense against the rush in the league, with only allowing 3.6 yards a carry. If they can hold the Giants to under 100, I'm going to say, if they hold the Giants to under 120 yards rushing, they're going to win this game.
Okay, one other thing that did catch my eye was that I read some reports that windy and maybe possibly inclement weather is to be expected at Giant Stadium this coming Sunday. And I know those were the conditions in their last game at Giant Stadium. Do you think that'll have a major impact on this game?
Well, obviously, a windy stadium favors the Giants, who are more rush dependent, whereas Eagles are more pass dependent. So if it's windy, that's favorable to the Giants. The last 3-day forecast I looked at, though, suggested it wasn't going to be too windy. I think under 15-mile-an-hour winds, which isn't enough to really disrupt passing.
Okay. But you think that if there are strong winds, that favors the Giants. If they're not, that favors the Eagles?
Definitely.
Interesting. Okay, the total has me a little bit confused. Now, both teams were about 50-50 on the year over-under. I've been hearing that some sharp opinions are liking the under on this game, and there was some U-shaped line move. It opened at 40, went up to 41, and then it's been bet down to 40 again. Now, the Giants' defense, as we noted, is getting a lot healthier. The Phillies' pass D has been great these past few games. What do you think of a bet on the under? You have any opinion on that?
I guess I'm not on the sharp side this week because I lean towards the over. I made the game line 45, so it would be a small play on the over. But if there's opposition, I like it less.
Okay, well, thanks once again, Justin. There you have it. Justin has a lean to the over. Me, I'm staying way off this one. The Giants are definitely going to get a huge boost in the health department, but that might not be enough to give them value over scrappy Philly and their tough defense. Definitely, though, keep an eye out for late-breaking reports on the wind and weather conditions and consider its impact on the side and the total.